It's a Tuesday morning and I'm set for a ride. It's super humid, it's been hot as hell in Sydney. I won't really talk about the weather because there's other things to talk about today. News broke on Sunday when a couple of hours after the National Championships concluded, Robbie McEwen, who had just been in the commentary booth with Matt Keenan and Bridie O'Donnell, tweeted a couple of messages. The first one contained a little congrats or a thank you to everyone who put on a good show at the Nationals, which is sort of the way that Robbie rolls. He likes to acknowledge the good, and this time he also recognised the bad. After talking to him briefly yesterday, I found out that he actually received the news in early December, that he'd no longer be part of the SBS cycling commentary team. For people who watch this and don't understand what SBS is, it's Special Broadcasting Services, and it's a national broadcaster, a public broadcaster in Australia. So in other words, it's taxpayer funded, and it's thanks to SBS that a lot of people have come to understand a lot about bike racing. In the last 6 years, in fact, it's been Robbie McEwen who's really helped educate people about the real nuance of cycling. He's a fantastic commentator. He was a great bike rider, but I think that his second career is one that absolutely was made for him. He speaks well, he has tons of confidence, he understands what the people want to hear because he has spent years watching bike racing himself. He's learned a lot about broadcasting through the likes of Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwin, who he worked with early in his time as a commentator. The point is, I think that Robbie learned a lot about his commentary by watching the Flemish broadcasts when he lived in Belgium, and understanding the need to paint a more intricate picture than just explaining what the book tells you about a chateau that the peloton is rolling by, for example. He is able to detail the streets, the turns that they're going to take, the road surface, the way that bike riders are going to position themselves in a bunch. He has so much insight into the machinations of the pro peloton, and together with Matt Keenan, he did an absolutely fantastic job in calling the shots for the time that he spent with SBS. There was a change in direction that came about a couple of years ago, and I am a little bit more privy to it than you might assume, because I have had, over 25 years, for over 25 years I've been meeting with SBS and trying to sort of see how I might be able to fit into the coverage. I have done a couple of guest appearances on the camera, and I was told that I suck in front of the camera. You're terrible in front of the camera is the actual quote, and we don't want to use you. You will never appear on SBS, was pretty much the summary that I was given in April of 2021 when I went and saw Catherine Whelan and we had a brief coffee. And I said, okay, well, it's neither here nor there for me, because I'm not really here to be in front of the camera, but I do believe that I have quite a bit of insight to offer. I've worked for the Tour de France for 16 years. I did the live coverage of the official website, latour.fr, from 1998 through to 2013. I've seen a few editions of the race. I've met a lot of the bike riders. I understand the race and cycling in general. I like to think that I have a good handle on a vast range of things that relate to the things that are broadcast on SBS during the cycling coverage. And I didn't really want to be the commentator sitting alongside Robbie or whoever else might come up. But I did think that I could contribute to the network. Anyway, the meeting with Catherine and me is indicative of what's going on at SBS, and Robbie's tweets were actually they were directed straight at Catherine Whelan, executive producer of sport at SBS. It's a role that a position she was promoted to a couple of years ago, and at the same time we saw the arrival of the likes of Bridie O'Donnell and a greater contribution from Kate Bates, and then last year Gracie Elvin started joining the team. So it's clear that there is an obvious mandate to try and get a little bit more female coverage, and that is fantastic. We need a variety of voices. on our television, especially on a public broadcaster, and I understand that. And with special broadcasting services, as the name might suggest, it is a network that is committed to multiculturalism and diversity, etc., etc. My discussions with Catherine have been anything but amiable. I've tried my best to explain why and how I might fit into the package, as has Robbie, but he didn't really need to. He was a natural. He should have been in front of the camera and he should be talking about cycling because that's what he's bloody good at. Of course I'd like to, but many other people would like to. It's not about me, it's not about Robbie, it's about the situation that has evolved where Catherine Whelan has been able to make these executive decisions, or at least she's been forced to hand them down. She was the one who talked to Mike Tomlaris and explained to him that he had to depart the network. I've expressed my thoughts about Tomo, and I understand that he contributed a lot to what SBS had done over the years with cycling coverage, and I respect his enthusiasm. Mike's contributions were significant, but his insights were nowhere near what Robbie can offer. And so therefore I think that the loss of Robbie McEwen is a far more significant thing to talk about than the moving on of Mike Tomlaris after 30 years at the network. At one time or another, some people have to, see the other side, I suppose. Mike Tomlaris had 30 years as a public broadcaster. He had a great job. He was flown all around the world, and he managed to, but his strength was getting cycling on the television. Once cycling was on the television, it needed to be a good broadcast, and that's where Robbie came into the picture, and I think he's done an exceptional job. For him to be told that he's just being moved on because there's a new direction being sought in 2022 and no further explanation, I think is rank. I spoke with Robbie for a long time yesterday, and he asked that the comments that he offered were off the record, but I have a good understanding of a couple of the things that went on in the background, and one assumption that I and a couple of other people have come to is that it could have been related to finance. In other words, could Robbie's bill have been a little bit too high? He was never offered an opportunity. Talk of money never came into the equation with Catherine. It wasn't even mentioned that a different fee structure could have been brokered. It was quite simply that they didn't want him on the network anymore doing the cycling coverage because they had other plans. We wait to see what those other plans are. We wait to see if anything is mentioned. SBS has told me they've got a pro forma response that they're sending to all of the people who are complaining. So if you get the same two sentences that have been mentioned online, I'm afraid to say you haven't been singled out for special treatment. It's an upsetting situation, and I think it's upsetting because Robbie really brought cycling into the mainstream by explaining all of the details, all of the intricacies, by making it fun, by giving some great insight and good wit along the way. And it's a shame to see him go. Boom, there you go. I'm going to talk about it on my ride too, because it's really in front of my mind. So, but this is just a quick intro while I sit here in the office, about to put my socks on and set out the door when the sun comes up in about 4 minutes' time.